Brexit's now permanent. We're going to be having Brexit now probably forever. We've left the European Union. I think almost all of us have agreed that's got to be respected. That's got to happen. But I think people have got to stop pretending it's a cost-free exercise where all the things people who wanted to leave happen and there were no costs. So all the reasons say Carole voted for Brexit, and there are lots of legitimate reasons why people did vote to leave the EU. I'm not a big fan of the EU. I voted for Remain on balance. But this is what people said would happen. We're not a member of the European Union anymore.
Why do they need to do it now when they didn't do it before? Yes, I know we were part of it. I know we were part
because we remember the European Union.
Yes, but why? Yes, but why do we have to?
Good question.
Why is it necessary to impose a £6 charge? This is, Owen, and you're being very calm about leaving the EU. You thought it was one of the most hideous things on the planet.
No, I didn't.
But this is just.
No, I didn't. That's not true. I even debated supporting leaving the EU. Actually,
well, exactly. That's the point.
This is spite and divisiveness on the part of the EU. I mean, and it's a very odd move considering that they're quite a lot of the countries within the EU are very dependent on UK traffic for holiday. They're very dependent on tourism.
But hang on, this is part of something called the ETIAS scheme, which applies to all non-EU countries. So it's everyone who's not in the EU. So now the question is it right, Owen, when Tory MP Peter Bone says this is anti-Britishness in the wake of Brexit?
No, look, freedom of movement has ended. One of the main reasons people voted to leave the European Union was to end freedom of movement. Freedom of movement is now ending, and the quid pro quo of that is we're not members of the European Union, and we are now subject to visa charges. If you're not members, if it's the same with other countries. There's several other countries on the planet where in order to enter, you have to pay a visa charge. If we were still members of the European Union, there would be freedom of movement, and we wouldn't be subject to these visas.
It's quite a big story, this, Carole, isn't it? Because it's going to increase costs for people going on, relatively cheap, sunny holidays.
I think it also reaffirms in a lot of people's minds that they were quite right to vote to leave this controlling organisation.
It's not controlling. We're not members anymore.
Tell me something. Why did they try and stop jabs and vaccinations to the EU, to Britain? Was that because we're no longer a member, or was that out of spite and divisiveness, which I believe this is?
I think, to be honest with you, the EU totally messed up their vaccine programmes. And actually, I think Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, has a lot to answer for about how they spoke about AstraZeneca. I think there is a case to argue there. But this is, I'm afraid, look, I'm no big fan of the European Union, and I'm not going to defend their terrible vaccine strategy. They have caught up with us, and Spain has overtaken us on vaccines as it happens. When it comes to these visa charges, however, that's what happens if you leave a bloc and you don't have freedom of movement anymore. What would you expect?
No, I'd keep coming back to you, Owen, just because in the Express, they've got a different view of it. And Nigel Farage says this shows the EU is collapsing.
Well, they're just subjecting non-member states to non-member state rules. That's all it is.
Well, punitive. OK, all right.
OK, he doesn't. He makes it, but he also says that we shouldn't introduce the same charges to Europeans. He said because we're an open